Welcome to the Sports Trading Card Hall of Fame. Today I'm going to be looking at the three stories that I have for the sixth chapter of the Hall of Fame, where I'm inducting one card, or one, well, not even a card, but I'm making one induction, and then I've got two stories of cardboard. The stories of cardboard are going to be the David Robinson rookie card, and it's also going to be Topps. But for the induction, I want to move Dr. James Beckett up from the stories of cardboard up into the binder of fame. And the reason that Dr. James Beckett is so important for the era is something that those of us who experienced it, we basically already know. But for those who didn't experience it, it's really difficult to fully capture the importance that he had. It's more the kind of thing that a really good documentary would cover, not the kind of thing I could create. But regardless of whether I could create it or not create it, etc., there are a number of different facets of the role that he played in helping cards evolve in a very important time, well, in the most important time of the history of cards. And what I really wanted to be focusing on here is the importance that he had in terms of establishing standards and definitions, because there are a lot of things that he basically, he brought them into, he wrote them down. I guess that's what I want to say. A lot of things he just recorded, finally. A lot of things he kind of figured out he read the tea leaves in the hobby and figured out where people were going. And in a number of cases, he just flat out wrote the rules himself. And then because of the platform he had with his Beckett annuals and with his Beckett monthlies, he had the ability to really help to shape the way that we all approached cards, which was really, really important for us as we were evolving as card collectors, because it gave us all a common language, but it also helped to establish a standard understanding of how cards worked. And that was really, really important. It's the kind of thing that would be nice to have now, but there's no way that you could have that now because there are too many voices. And that's the beauty of what Dr. James Beckett was able to provide in the 1980s and the 1990s. He had a central voice. You know, there was Tough Stuff, and there were other price guides that existed, and we would debate back and forth about the best price guide. But at the end of the day, there was one name that we all knew, and that name, Dr. James Beckett, was the definition in card collecting of a central figure, somebody who was equal parts guru as much as guide. There was so much to his role in the hobby because he was the only face. He was the only name. He was the only voice that we could all rally around. And that was really important. And a lot of the things that he defined have fallen away because since he's no longer basically managing the general tenor of our conversation, it's fallen into a world where we're all making things up as we go, and it creates a pretty chaotic world. So in the video I'm going to do to really look at Dr. James Beckett importance in terms of the guidance that he gave us for the definitions in the hobby, I'm going to be looking primarily at how he defined rookie cards. That's really kind of the key that I want to look at. And so it's going, in the standalone video, that's really where the focus is going to be. So definitely look out for that video. But then also, I do want to introduce the other two topics, the stories of cardboard, and the first of the two is perfectly dovetailed after this, which is the David Robinson rookie card. And I'm not specifying which set partially because there's only one set, and yet at the same time there are 6 cards that all fit into this conversation. See, when Dr. James Beckett came up with the definition of what a rookie card was versus an XRC, the hobby was still very streamlined. And so we got used to the way that worked until by the end of the 1980s, things were starting to get kind of chaotic. And there was a particular card that came out in NBA Hoops, which was the first card of David Robinson. And the card didn't look or feel like any rookie card we had otherwise, which is not entirely true, because Score over in football was doing something kind of similar. But the thing was that there was that card, and then the Series 2 card, which was kind of different. So was the Series 2 card, which was a player card, was that his actual rookie card, and it was an XRC in Series 1. But then in 1990, we had his rookie card with other fellow first-year players. it really created a chaotic environment where we're looking at it going, okay, so we know how this works. Do we? And this was our great experiment. This was the card that got us all to have the meaningful conversation that we needed in order to finally understand how this whole rookie card thing worked. And it was something that happened in basketball because basketball was the right place for this to happen. And it kind of snuck up on us because it wasn't really a big conversation in 1989 because there wasn't a lot of conversation in 1990 about basketball. But in 1990, it was very different. The hobby was blasting forward. And so now all of a sudden we have a lot of people involved. People really cared. And so this was the perfect place for this conversation that we needed to have so that we as a hobby were able to have a conversation to explore the rules and understand exactly how the rules worked. And it took us a little while to really filter through and get it down. But we did eventually get it down. So that's what I want to look at in terms of the David Robinson rookie card, is the importance of the story of figuring out how rookie cards worked. But the last stories of cardboard that I want to look at is Topps. And Topps is a really frustrating one for me because this is a card that is both the best thing and the worst thing in the hobby. Okay, not the worst thing necessarily, that would be Panini, but it's the second worst thing. Because Topps created a monopoly. And that allowed them to standardize cards and provide us with a reliable world of sports cards into the 1980s. And in that way, it's good. They created a definition of cards, one that we all could rely on, and helped to provide a continuity so that all throughout time we were all doing the same thing. But the problem was that by stifling competition, they never really upgraded anything. They never got into, well, so in 1981 when Donruss and Leaf, or not Leaf, but Fleer joined the hobby, all of a sudden Topps started doing a bunch of interesting things, and Donruss and Fleer were doing this, were also doing that. All of a sudden cards became really fun and adventurous. That might not have worked in the 1970s, but in the 80s it certainly could. But the thing is that Topps is lazy, and they will do nothing more than the very bare minimum. When pushed into a corner, dude, they can innovate with the best. In fact, it could be argued that they can innovate better than the best. But it's all about figuring out how to do the right thing that then allows them to just kind of sleepwalk after that, cashing checks. I mean, they're basically the last person standing, the last card company standing, so they must be doing something right. But that's the problem with Topps, is the fact that there are a lot of ways in which Topps is amazing in the hobby, especially as the definition of the hobby, but there are also ways in which they've held the hobby back. They've slowed it down. They've limited what the hobby could potentially do. And it does have, there's kind of a personal feeling that I have of being overlooked, underappreciated by this card company, and kind of this, well, he'll just do whatever I want kind of an attitude that is not an attitude that I think is very healthy. I don't think it's very inviting. So I'm kind of torn with it. And so that's what I'm going to be looking at, really, is more of the love-hate kind of relationship that fits in with the story of Topps. So Topps I didn't want to put in early on in my stories of cardboard because I really don't believe that it's as important as many other topics in the story. There's too much on either side. But those are the two stories of cardboard that I'm going to be looking at in the upcoming videos. So again, I'm going to do a video looking at Dr. James Beckett and the importance that he had in defining cards. I'm going to be looking at the story of the David Robinson rookie card and figuring out how that worked, and then also the love-hate relationship with Topps. So definitely look out for those videos when they land, and go ahead and look at previous examples, previous videos through the months and years that I've been doing this, and see what else I've talked about in terms of the stories of cardboard and inductions into the Binder of Fame here in the Sports Trading Card Hall of Fame. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and definitely look out for those videos.